Hi, I'm Beth Petrowski from MnDOT, and we're here today to talk about some major transportation projects scheduled for the Hibbing-Chisholm area. These projects will greatly improve safety, mobility, and freight movement. The projects include roundabouts and a resurfacing project on Highway 169 and another resurfacing project on Highway 37. We have three MnDOT engineers here today to answer questions about the projects. So would you please introduce yourself?
I'm Brian Larson. I'm a project manager with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, District 1 here in northeastern Minnesota. I'm involved with the development of the projects from scoping as far as what the projects are going to address as far as the issues, through final design into even construction.
I'm Maury Luke with Minnesota Department of Transportation, District 1. I'm the Assistant District Traffic Engineer. Today I'll be talking about the benefits of roundabouts, how to drive a roundabout, and what the safety of roundabouts compared to a four-legged intersection.
My name's Nancy Graham. I'm a project engineer in construction out of Virginia, and I am going to oversee all three of the projects in the Hibbing area this year.
Brian, we'll start with you. This is the first MnDOT built roundabout in northeastern Minnesota. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, that's correct, Beth. This will be one of the first MnDOT constructed roundabouts in northeastern Minnesota, but I think everybody knows, or most people know, that there have been a couple built in Grand Rapids, so there is some familiarity with roundabouts in northeast Minnesota. We are going to be looking at building also one in Chisholm, a roundabout in Chisholm at the intersection of Highway 73 and County Road 5, so really the roundabout in Hibbing and the roundabout in Chisholm are going to be kind of on concurrent paths. So the one in Hibbing, we're developing that at the intersection of Highway 169 and Highway 37. The reason we're looking at a roundabout in this location was some issues with the current existing intersection. Over the last few years, there have been some safety issues. 37 crashes were recorded from 2009 to 2013. When you look at those 37 crashes and when we do a statistical analysis and come up with this critical crash rate, it is higher than the statewide average. So when you do the safety analysis, the existing intersection is showing there is some safety issues that need to be addressed right now. Also, from an operational standpoint, when you look at how traffic is moving and flowing through the intersection, it's peak traffic times. You're seeing some delays that probably unnecessary that we should also be addressing as part of the project. So, there's 15,000 vehicles per day that travel through the intersection, which is getting to be a pretty high number. When you forecast that out as far as future traffic growth 20 years from now, you're looking at over 20,000 vehicles per day. So again, the delays and the operational issues that you're experiencing right now, over time are only going to get worse. And then also the existing signal system that's out there, it's pushing 30 years old and it's reaching the end of its life. So now's the time to take a look at that existing intersection and try to figure out what should we do with it to address these problems into the future. So as part of that process, we do what's called an intersection control evaluation, an ICE report. And that, again, it looks at those issues that I just talked about, the traffic volumes, the types of accidents that are occurring, the crashes. And it looks at different alternatives and evaluates them as far as how they're going to come up with addressing those problems. We looked at just upgrading the existing signal system, just replace the old system with a new system, not doing any kind of geometrics changes. So that was one of the alternatives that we evaluated. We also looked at putting in a new signal system with a dual left turn lane for the eastbound traffic on 169 as you're heading north, adding a second left turn lane to address those future peak traffic volumes. But again, when you do the analysis and look at how the intersection would operate and move traffic and how those different alternatives would address crashes and safety, the roundabout rose to the top is the best solution for this intersection.
And Brian, if I can interject here, with the traffic signal, our crash frequency goes up. Crash severity also goes up compared to a roundabout. You've got more decisions to make with a signal. So that's why the roundabout does go, rise to the top in that intersection control evaluation. Also, with the severity of driver errors compared to a signalized intersection to a roundabout, it's higher for the severity. So because with a roundabout, you're coming in at a lower speed.
Yep, and also at an angle versus the T-bone
It's-
type
yep.
crashes. So like you said, more, yeah, from a safety standpoint, if you do have a crash, it's going to be less severe and
And it'll probably most likely be a property damage crash.
versus an injury type.
Yep. Or
exactly.
fatality.
Yep. So again, as part of that ICE evaluation, we also look at costs, and you know, a roundabout it's not a cheap solution. It's going to be the most expensive of the alternatives that were considered. But again, long term, when you look at the benefits that a roundabout's going to provide, it's the right solution for this intersection. As far as the roundabout itself that we're developing, it's kind of a hybrid. It's you know, you've got single lane roundabouts, you've got multi-lane roundabouts. You're going to have 2 lanes from the west as you're heading east into the roundabout. There's going to be 2 lanes. One will take you north onto 169. If you're in the left lane, again, just continue in the left lane, and it's going to take you north onto 169. If you're in the right lane as you're heading east, stay in that right lane, and that'll continue on to the east on Highway 37. So really, that's the only location where you really kind of got to make a choice as far as which lane to be in. The rest of the legs are all single lanes. So if you're heading west on Highway 37 through the roundabout, you know, it's just going to take you into the roundabout, and you follow the lane markings and follow the signage. As far as other features that you're going to see, there's a concrete truck apron that allows the off-tracking of larger vehicles to occur. You're going to see, and they're called splitter islands. These different legs are, when you're coming into the roundabout, they're called splitter islands. These splitter islands are also going to be concrete, and you're going to see some colored concrete. So there's going to be some nice aesthetics features developed as part of the roundabout. Also, the center island of the roundabout, there'll be some landscaping. Again, just to again make it, from an appearance standpoint, a pretty nice feature.
Sounds like you've just about considered everything in the design for this. Sounds like it's going to be a great plan for the city. Maury, do you have any advice for motorists who maybe are unfamiliar with how to drive a roundabout?
Yeah. Well, on our MnDOT website, we've got a lot of videos on how to drive roundabouts. One of the simplest things, as you come up to the roundabout, if there's a vehicle within the roundabout, you yield to that person. So entering vehicles yield to anyone within the roundabout. You can think of a roundabout, the center of it, as a freeway. You're always yielding to those people. You know, as you come onto a freeway, you yield to those people that are on the freeway. So this is smaller, it's lower speeds, but it's no different. You're yielding. The signs that you'll see entering a roundabout are no different than any of the other highway signs that you see. The only different sign is probably the roundabout sign, and that's circulatory arrows. Also, pedestrian crossing are safer in a roundabout. The pedestrian crossing is usually about a car length back from where the actual roundabout is. So vehicles can, you know, they'll see a pedestrian first before they get up to the roundabout. So yield to those pedestrians. Actually, Minnesota had stopped for the pedestrians. So if you see a pedestrian within the roundabout, you stop for them. And just make sure you pay attention as you're leading up to the roundabout. You know, put down your cell phones. No, keep the distracted driving to a minimum.
And I think that's one of the keys, Maury. Like you said, it's, you know, a roundabout is going to require a driver to make a decision. Like I said, if there's somebody in the roundabout already, you wait and you yield to that person. And if you're distracted by other things, and that's just in general, that you know, distracted driving is causing a lot of our problems out there on the road. But you know, just pay attention when you come to a roundabout. They're not that hard, but again, it's, you know, a signal system. Well, yellow, I better slow down. Red, I stop, and, you know, I wait. It's kind of a, you know, from a driver standpoint, you're not making decisions. But a roundabout will require a little bit more decision making, and as drivers, that we should be able to make the proper decisions.
Actually, this decision making is quite a bit less in a roundabout than a signal system. Signal system, your sensory perception is increased. Because, okay, is the light going to change, you know, from green to yellow or yellow to red? There's, entering traffic on the right, for, the right turn movement. Whereas a roundabout, you only have to look one way. You look to your left, because that's where all the traffic is coming from. There should be no traffic to your right. So actually,
If it's clear to the left, you go.
if it's clear to the left, you go. You do not have to yield. And I've seen a lot of that where people come up to a roundabout. If there's nobody there, they still stop or slow down. They don't have to.
And I think that's, just part of getting used to the roundabouts and how to drive them up in this area.
Yep.
We just haven't had the experience that, other locations, other states, other countries have. And I think as more and more of these roundups are developed throughout the state, throughout our region, people definitely are going to, again, the use of them and how to drive them will be improved.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too, compared to a signal, the delay is a lot less in a roundabout. If there's nobody coming from any other direction, you can keep on going.
Yeah.
Whereas a signal, I mean, we saw it at 169 and 37.
Driving in today, there was people backed up waiting for a green light, and there was nobody at the signal. So
right.
From other legs, yeah.
So with the roundabout, the delay is very, very, very little. Your entrings, like we mentioned before, entering speeds are right around between that 18 to 25 miles an hour. So if you do get in a wreck, it's going to be more of a glancing blow than a
serious fit,
serious injury.
Right.
And maybe I'll come go into that. Where a roundabout this is national numbers, at locations where roundabouts have replaced stop signs and or signals, crashes decrease by almost 40%. Injuries decrease by 76%, and fatalities and incapacitating injuries decrease by 90%. So that's some pretty good numbers.
Great.
I mean, we're safety driven pretty much now in today's day and age. So, the numbers don't lie.
Those are some great safety benefits. I know one of the questions that people are probably wondering is there's a lot of large oversized trucks and other vehicles that go through the Highway 37 and 169 intersection. Will they be able to go through the new roundabout, and can you explain how that'll work?
Yeah, the new roundabout is designed for a double wide truck to go through. The signs that are within the roundabout itself and right around on the splitter islands, they're going to be on removable posts. So if a double wide is coming through, the signs can be removed so they can drive right over the concrete medians.
And by a double wide, you mean the side-by-side,
The side-by-side
combinations
yeah.
that are moving the mining equipment.
Yep.
And right, but they're not going to be able to follow your conventional direction around the roundabout. We're going to have to shut the roundabout down for a certain period of time while these large loads are moving through it. And and like you said, the removable signposts and
yep.
it's all been considered in the design.
Yep. So, yeah, we and talking to truck drivers, where roundabouts have been installed, most of them, can drive, are fairly comfortable driving through. They understand about the trailer portion of the truck riding up around the truck apron. That truck apron is designed for that reason.
Right. Conventional trucks, tractor-trailer combinations, not a problem for the roundabout.
No,
yeah.
they, that, like I said, that trailer rides up on that roundabout, and it's a natural progression for them.
Yeah.
Great, sounds good.
The other thing, and some of the issues we've heard about also with those side-by-side oversized, overweight type vehicles moving through the roundabout is the height of the curb on these splitter islands, we call them, and whether there's enough clearance, or that the vehicles will have enough clearance, the low boys or whatever that are hauling this mining equipment. And yes, the curb and gutter design is a low enough profile. It's kind of a flat graded type curb and gutter design that does allow the semi tractor trailer combinations to ride up over it and haul their loads across. So
great. Nancy, you're going to be handling all of the day-to-day construction activities on the project. Could you tell us a little bit about the staging and planning and anything else that motorists should be aware of, including traffic impacts?
Sure. The construction start date is set for May 9th, and substantial completion is around the middle of August. They might be still doing some planting and stuff like that after that. But the first stage of construction you're going to notice is they're going to be constructing the crossovers in the 169 and the 37 medians. And then once those are constructed, they're going to shift traffic into the northern driving lanes, and the south part of the intersection and the road that will take you down to 41st will be closed. And then that's when they're going to construct the majority of the roundabout. And then once that's done, they'll route traffic through the roundabout. It's just going to be kind of modified until they get the rest of it completed.
The northern half.
Yep. And as far as 169 goes, that resurfacing project, they're going to keep that one lane in each direction for the mill and overlay. They are going to be doing some intersection work, so there can be some disruption there when they're changing signaling and putting in the pedestrian ramps. And then on 37, they're going to have to shut one lane down at a time, so there'll be some flagging operations on out there, but no detours for any of it.
And the apparent low bidder for the roundabout is KGM.
Yep.
And the bid came in for the roundabout about 3 million, 2.8.
Yep, 2.8 million.
Yep. So that's right in kind of the line where what we had estimated for the job. So no real big surprises as far as the cost for the roundabout. And KGM's a very experienced contractor. And
they're actually the low bidder for both of the projects that were just let, and they are the low bidder for the Highway 37. So it's the same contractor. So
doing all the paving work in the area.
Yep.
And, yep.
So coordination with them should be pretty easy.
It'll help, yeah,
Yep.
instead of having different contractors working out there.
Yep.
Yep.
So it'll basically cause a little disruption for the people of Hibbing, but the end result will be a really great project, it sounds like.
Maybe just going back to what Nancy was talking a little bit about the resurfacing work that's also going to be occurring in addition to the roundabout. The project on 169 that starts at the Highway 73 intersection over by Walmart and extends, I think, just past County Road 5. So it's about 12, or what is the length? 12 miles in length.
Yep.
We're going to be milling 2 inches off or 3 inches, different areas. We're going to be milling a little bit more off, and then just coming in with a new asphalt surface, new bituminous surface. In addition to the paving, there's going to be not a lot of them, but some culvert repairs and some replacements. Some new guardrail will be installed, but probably one of the big things that people are going to see out there as part of that project is there's going to be quite a bit of signal work, or work at the signalized intersections. In addition to the signal systems being worked on, we're going to be doing some ADA, American with Disability Act accessibility type upgrades. And again, it's a federal statute or federal act that we have to have accessible facilities out there. So you're going to be seeing some concrete ramps, concrete crossings. We call them truncated domes, but they're drawing a blank here, but it's a detectable type surface that people with disabilities can recognize as they're using our facilities. So again, you're going to see quite a bit of ADA type upgrades. And again, these are occurring at 73, 11th Avenue West, 9th Avenue West, East 25th Street, East 23rd Street, Howard Street, and East 37th Street. The signal work, we're looking at repainting the existing poles. Again, these signal systems, in addition, like we talked about earlier with the 169, 37 signal system, these are getting up there in age also, and they're starting to show their wear and tear. So we're going to be repainting those. We're going to be upgrading them to LED type lights. So again, from an energy efficiency standpoint, they'll be much better that way. We'll also be adding EVP, we refer to it as emergency vehicle preemption. And Maury, that's a feature for the emergency vehicles.
For the emergency vehicles, they can trigger that if they're on an emergency call. For those of you who've driven elsewhere within the country, even down, down in the Twin Cities Metro, most of those signal systems have the EVP, whereas the emergency, whether it's police, fire, EMS, they've got a strobe on the top of their vehicle that'll flash a beacon to that EVP at a certain frequency, and then it'll give them a green, and then everybody else will be at
cross
red.
direction. Yep.
Right.
Be forced to stop.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's safer for the emergency vehicles to go through an intersection.
Okay. Folks may notice that about 5 years ago there was a project on Highway 169 to improve accessibility, and the work that was done then is being modified with this project. Why is that?
Well, when that was done, like I said, it's about 5 years ago, and we've had some lessons learned. Some of the standards have changed a little bit, so we're just going to take what was done in, like I said, 5 years ago, and add to that. So again, it better complies with the Americans, with the ADA requirements that are out there right now. And again, like I mentioned, we've learned some lessons since then. Some of it isn't quite right as far as when it was constructed, not quite in compliance. So we're going to have to tweak it and just improve it from what's out there right now.
Okay, great.
I'm
go
just
ahead.
wondering, Beth, too, if we can talk a little bit more about Highway 37. Nancy mentioned the Highway 37 project between. Now that's going to run from Highway 53 to our roundabout project.
18 miles.
18 miles in length.
Yep.
And really, other than the resurfacing, there's not many culverts, I don't think,
There's
Nancy.
a couple culverts to be replaced, and then they're going to do some work on the railroad grade to make that a little bit smoother.
And I've heard that, again, there's a lot of concern out there with that railroad crossing right now, and it's better than what it was. The railroad put a new crossing in. I think it was late last fall sometime. But again, it still doesn't ride real well. So as part of this paving project that we've got now, we're going to better match into that railroad crossing that's out there. So I know that's a huge concern from what I've been hearing from people up in this area that use Highway 37.
Yep, it's a speed bump right now. So.
Yep, I've heard some comments about that too, so that's great. Nancy, how can people find out more information about these projects?
During construction, you should visit the 511mn.org. That'll give you any information. If you zoom into any of those roadways, it'll tell you where and what's going on at that time. And then the MnDOT website, you can look under District 1 projects and find the project, and you can look at any of the documents, the simulations, reports, all that stuff's on there.
Oh, great. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add?
We'll maybe just talk real quick about the Chisholm Roundabout. We didn't spend much time on that one, but like we mentioned, in addition to the Hibbing one, that there is going to be a new roundabout going up on Highway 73 and County Road 5. That project's being led by St. Louis County, and it's being driven by St. Louis County. The mining company, Hibtac, informed them that they wanted to mine underneath the existing road, so they had to make some changes to County Road 5. And as far as where it's tying into Highway 73 right now, there's a temporary signal system out there that's going to be taken out once this roundabout is put into operation. But the county, looking at this intersection, this future intersection of 73 and County Road 5, really decided from a safety standpoint that a roundabout again was the right solution. So like Maury was talking earlier, when you look at intersections, the roundabout really does stand out as the best safety type of solution, and that's the main reason I think the county's looking at a roundabout for that intersection. And then also, if people have questions about that project, again, being it's a St. Louis County-led project, Vic Lund, the traffic engineer for St. Louis County, would be a good contact person. We do have a little bit of information on the project. Our website, Beth, I believe, has got some information, so people can also go there to find out about that project.
And one other thing on the roundabout safety compared to a signal that I didn't mention before. You said it's a lot safer than a signalized. Another thing we look at when we look at safety analysis of intersections are conflict points. And that's where people, the possibility of how people could, get in a crash, whether it's rear ender, whether it's T-bone, head on. So a roundabout compared to a signal has 32 conflict points. So whether it's coming at an angle, most of them are angle crashes, most rear ender and or head on, a roundabout goes down to 8 conflict points. It's either rear end or glancing blow. So the safety benefits, speak for themselves again.
That's great.
Just a few more things as far as the Hibbing Roundabout project. Again, there's a lot of concern with, we're not ready. We don't know how to drive roundabouts, and there is some concern out there with people and becoming familiar with roundabouts. We're going to have some additional public outreach activities that we'll be doing throughout the course of this summer. We'll be attending different activities, maybe visiting some different centers to do some educational outreach and hopefully provide people, again, just gain a little bit more confidence with what we're proposing out there as far as roundabout goes. So you can stay tuned for that. Also, we attended the Perella Home Show about a month ago. So it was early March, and it was kind of interesting. It's people that have experienced and driven through roundabouts. They're really supportive, and for the most part, they think it's a good solution for the intersection. That was kind of my impression I took out of the home show. And I don't know about you, Beth, but talking to people that haven't driven through roundabouts or don't have much experience with roundabouts, those are the ones that seem to have the most concern. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I think as people, again, between Hibbing, Chisholm, we're building one in Moose Lake this summer. You're going to see more and more roundabouts, and you're going to be experiencing having to drive through roundabouts more and more in northeastern Minnesota. I think as people gain that experience driving through them, that again the concern will definitely decrease, and your confidence in how they operate and address safety is only going to become better.
And I'll just add to that, Brian, you're right. The people who have driven to roundabouts, they get it, they understand it, they're confident through it. And national studies have said, okay, prior to a roundabout being constructed in a new area, it's like a 20-80 split where 20% are for, 80% are against. Once that roundabout is constructed, they'll look at numbers again 6 months to a year after. Those numbers are flopped. 80% are saying, "Oh, this is a piece of cake. This is no problem at all." And so,
yeah, you get testimonials. I didn't believe it, but it really does work. From people that have, again, the new roundabout's been put in, and again after it's been in operation for a while.
Especially when they replace a signal. Delay at a signal. How many times have you been sitting at a left turn or even
just
through
a red light.
And maybe there's something wrong with the signal, or it won't change. You're just sitting there forever. Roundabout, you'll be able to breeze right through.
Right, and Brian, I do remember at the Perella Home Show that we both agreed that we thought there was probably 60% acceptance, and about 40% of the people were still little concerned, right?
Yep, no.
But we also heard from a number of people who said, younger people who said they would be helping their older relatives through it for the first time. So I think that's always a good idea if people have a relative who might be able to help them so that they can get over any concerns that they have and try to get that learning curve over. But then our videos on our website are also very, very good for that. I mean, just it shows every traffic movement, and you can watch it over and over and learn something every time.
Right.
So.
And as far as the outreach, Beth, I mean, some of the other things we're considering, I don't know what they're called, these trifold type, passing those out to area businesses, area restaurants, bars, and again, there's something that would sit on the tables of these businesses, and again, it provides information as far as the purpose of roundabouts, the safety benefits, and some educational information as far as how to drive them. So that's one thing, I guess, if people have an interest in in receiving some of these. Are they called trifold placards, or what would they, brochures or whatever?
A little
They-
tabletop tent.
Yeah, they
or
could contact
something.
you or I
Right,
for
right,
those.
Yep. And we also have a lot of brochures too, so we're going to be putting those in some of the local businesses. Well, we hope this presentation has helped you all understand the future projects for the area, and want to thank Brian and Maury and Nancy for all of their excellent work on this. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact me or either of these people. And please always remember to drive with caution in our work zones. That's for your safety and for the safety of our workers. Thank you.
Hibbing Public Access Television would like to thank U.S. Bank for providing us with studio space.